there's a lot of drones on each side, but there's also a lot of electronic warfare, jamming capability on each side. So a lot of drones are lost before they blow anyone up. To defeat EW, electronic warfare, they're trying to put AI with, the integral algorithms into the drones, so the drones don't use GPS and they don't get jammed as much. They make the drones more self-sufficient and more intelligent. The problem with that is that it costs a lot, and the point of the Ukrainian strategy with their drones is that it has to be a sustainable operation. However, they're already using some models with AI on the battlefield, and there will come a day quite shortly where a lot of drones will be able to navigate, select targets, and potentially strike targets with minimal, if any, human interference.
Now, in the week that Ukraine launched its biggest drone attack on Russian oil facilities, the Times video team has been given special access to one of the Ukrainian military teams who command strike drones on the front line. Drones and AI are playing an increasingly influential and deadly role on both sides of the conflict. Well, Anthony Loyd, the Times special correspondent, was in the city of Lyman near Donetsk to witness the operations of Ukraine's 95th Air Assault Brigade. And he's with us now. Morning, Anthony.
Good morning.
First of all, just explain to us the significant role that drones are playing in the war in Ukraine at the moment.
Well, there are a number of interesting things which have happened over the past few months to take us to the point we're at now. First of all, short and medium-range attack drones are now killing more soldiers on both sides than any other weapon system. Now, that's really significant. That's quite a milestone in warfare. And that was confirmed to us actually by the head of the Ukrainian Ground Forces, Lieutenant General Alexander Pavlyuk, when we were discussing with him, exactly what toll drones are taking. As well, the war is becoming not just a struggle on the battlefield, but it's becoming an economic struggle, a long-term economic struggle for both sides to impose themselves and their power on the battlefield. Ukraine, ever short of ammunition, ever short of funds, has worked out that drones are much cheaper in closing the firepower gap. They're never going to close it completely, and drones are not a replacement for artillery, but they're an alternative option, and they're a much cheaper option. If you can, destroy a Russian tank that could cost a few $1 million with a kamikaze drone that costs you $500 to make, you're doing a much more economic, cost-effective destruction there than if you were to destroy that tank using a Western-supplied missile that might, like a Javelin missile, that might cost you $80,000. So drones are everywhere. There are thousands going over the front line, 600-mile front line at any one moment. They're killing more soldiers on either side than in the history of warfare previously, and they're doing so quite cost-efficiently.
Now, you actually sat in the room with some drone operators, didn't you, while they were working?
Yeah, so just to set the scene, this isn't actually in the city of Liman. This is
Okay.
East. It's east. It's east in some kind of fairly obliterated zone that had no name. So it's well east of Liman. And the Russians are pushing now. They're pushing at various sectors along the front. It's the main focus of their offensive at the moment. Kharkiv is a pressure point, but the main focus is on the east. It's in Donbass. So big front line there, burning fields, shell fire, helicopter gunships, the full, front line thing. So you move very, very fast, usually at night or at dawn, and everybody's living underground these days. So you're living in not rooms, but little bunkers. And these drone teams, usually 2 or perhaps 3 guys, operate. We saw basically there were 3 types of drone crews who we filmed. The first was a medium bomber drone crew, Vampire Crew. This is the drone's name. And the second was a grenade drop drone that very simply just strap a grenade underneath it, fly it over the Russian lines, identify a target, and then they'd strike it. And the last is the ubiquitous FPV suicide drone. Again, this costs about $500 to make. It's called FPV because it's first-person view, because the pilot's wearing gaming goggles and just literally rams the drone into its target, which could be a single infantryman, could be a vehicle, in order to destroy it.
Wow, what was it like to watch that?
That's an interesting question, because on the one hand, so 3 days in a row, I saw people being killed right in front of me on a screen. And they were a few tree lines away, or in some cases about 7 kilometers away. And the thing I kind of noticed was more the intensity of the sudden engagement you have with the guys who are doing the killing rather than those who are being killed, because the guys who are being killed are little men on a screen. And of course, I was trying to think, well, that's a person I'm just witnessing. I'm just about to die. Someone to watch someone die, someone be killed. Oh yes, look, they have just been killed. But I found the more intense engagement was I'm going down a bunker in a war zone to meet three guys who are about to kill some people in front of me. And I'm going to be with them for a few hours, either in the darkness or across dawn or whatever. And I'm going to have to find a way quickly to speak with them and to engage with them. So I understand what they're doing, the technicalities of what they're doing and how they feel about it. And that's quite a fast engagement suddenly to have with somebody, right? I'm walking into this bunker. I'm going to be with men who are killing people and I'm going to be speaking with them. So I better sort out the mood and the practicalities of this quite quickly. That was the greater intensity, I thought.
And what did they tell you?
Well, I asked them, do you ever feel any pity? Because, I mean, sometimes you just see isolated infantrymen running for their lives across the battlefield and they pursue them with a drone and kill them. And at other times, certainly the first two Russians they killed could hear the drone and were lying down trying to escape it. And they said, no, we don't feel any pity. They have come to our land, they've harmed our people, they've harmed our women, they've harmed our children, and if we don't kill them, they will kill us. So they felt that was a commonplace response. And I asked them as well how they felt, did they ever worry that AI, which they're now fitting into their drones, or they're now experimenting with fitting AI into their drones, I asked if they were worried that would, take over warfare to such an extent that, the machines would rise and kill men without much human input at all. And they're really interesting about that. I mean, basically, to cut a long story short, there's a lot of drones on each side, but there's also a lot of electronic warfare, jamming capability on each side. So a lot of drones are lost before they blow anyone up. To defeat EW, electronic warfare, they're trying to put AI with, the integral algorithms into the drones so the drones don't use GPS and they don't get jammed as much. They make the drones more self-sufficient and more intelligent. The problem with that is that it costs a lot, and the point of the Ukrainian strategy with their drones is that it has to be a sustainable operation. However, they're already using some models with AI on the battlefield, and there will come a day quite shortly where a lot of drones will be able to navigate, select targets, and potentially strike targets with minimal, if any, human interference.
It's incredible. You've covered so many wars, Anthony. I just wonder, in seeing what drones can do, I mean, it's clearly changed the nature of this war. Do you think drones have now changed the nature of all wars going forward?
I think I think that's highly likely because they are so cost efficient, and therefore that really reduces the advantage of very well moneyed high tech armies who have equipment like heavy equipment like tanks, or have doctrines of armored warfare that includes long armored columns. When those armored columns can be defeated by small machines that cost $500,000 a time, and certainly you can see the physical changes in the war in Ukraine. Almost, you're living underground the whole time along the front line now. Any movement above ground is really, really high risk. Attacks are being broken up 8 or 10 kilometers before they even start to cross the start line to get into the attack. When these Russian armored units forming up, they're getting hit by drones long before they actually get to the front line. Everybody now, they're putting netting over their trenches to try and defeat drones. They're putting bigger and bigger cages over their armored vehicles. But the thing here is the relationship between electronic warfare, jamming, and AI. And we don't know quite how that outcome is going to work out. Are drones with AI literally going to freeze the modern battlefield in place so that it's all going on below ground? Or is EW, electronic warfare, jamming, going to stay one step ahead of the drones so that actually you'll be able to counter a lot of these drone strikes and continue moving? There's going to be no concrete answer to that. It's a race. It's an evolution. It's constantly evolving.
Anthony, it's always so good to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
That's Anthony Loyd, the Times special correspondent. I mean, I could talk to Anthony all day. It's absolutely incredible. And you can read his piece online now.